Welcome to Press Box. I'm your host, Jay Stoyan. This is the best time of the year for sports fans. We have baseball playoffs, we have a hockey starting, we have NFL Week 5. We have a terrific guest on today. We're really excited. Hey, hockey people out there, listen to who we have on. We have for the 1981 NHL Draft, number 2 in the pick, Doug Smith. Doug's going to come on and tell us all about his wonderful career. Tell us about what he's doing today and tell us about how he's helping his fellow athletes and people around the world. You're watching Press Box. We'll be right back.
Would you like to donate to our employment programs? Please follow the link below to donate through PayPal. All proceeds go to our programs.
Welcome back to Press Box. On the show today, we have former NHLer, number 2 pick in the 81 draft, Doug Smith. Doug, thanks for being on the show today.
So great to be here, Jay. Thanks for having me on.
This is great. Wow, we've been researching your resume offline, and boy, it's quite the extensive resume. Like number 2 in the draft. I got so many questions to ask you about hockey, but also I want to talk about how you're helping your fellow athletes through your platform called Doug Smith Performance. That's very exciting, Doug. So thank you.
Wow, it's my pleasure to be on here and to talk about where things are going and to see if we can help more people, right? Just do better in the world. That's all I'm focused on is doing better myself, a little better every day, and then helping other people just do a little better every day. And if we do that, we'll get out of the situation we're in right now.
Well, you have such an inspiring story. So we'll get into that a little bit down the road. I could talk to you for about 3 hours, but we only have about 22 minutes. But okay. We're going to have to bring you back. So let's talk about, obviously the most exciting thing in your life to other people, to hockey fans, right, is the draft, right? Like number 2 in the draft. Leading up to that, to the draft in 1881, let's tell them who went first. Dale Howard-Chuck, worldwide superstar, right? Leading up to the draft, like say 3 months into ending the season, did you have an inkling? Did you know? Tell us how you were feeling.
To get to the NHL, there's more guys, more talent that never made it, that ever did. My second season in junior, after being drafted as an underage, everything that was shot towards the net bounced off me and went in for about 4 months. And I went from 20 to 6 to 2, and it was just tip-ins and just being in the right place and having the right guys. And I was just a lucky one. I was just very fortunate to have the people around me that I had around me.
Speaking of people around, that's what I really like to get to. I really like to dig into, like, what were your mom and dad thinking? What were your best friends in your neighborhood who weren't hockey players, but you grew up? What were they thinking? Like,
wow, my mom built my belief system, right? And I mean, in junior, she used to drive from Ottawa to Windsor to watch one game and then drive home after the game. Like, so because she knew the power of somebody related to you being in the stands, whether it's a mother, father, grandfather, just somebody you can look up at that's cheering just you on. Not everybody in the stands is against you. And so that's what my mother did to me. She just committed to that. And I miss her. I miss her a lot.
Hockey mom, right? Hockey moms are the best, right? Aren't they?
Yeah.
And how about some of your close friends growing up? What were they saying to you?
Well, it was when you're in high school and this is happening to you, you have no idea because your level of awareness in high school, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you're thinking about girls and having fun. I mean, that's all. So
how did you balance it too? So when you were going, like when you knew you were on your way to an NHL career, how did you keep the temptations away? Like as a teenager?
Well, as a teenager getting to LA, it was hard, right? To stay alive because I went into that jungle when I was 18 years old. And the situation in LA wasn't like it is today for 18-year-olds. So this was the first year of the 18-year-old draft. So they put me in the Airport Park Hotel in Inglewood, California, and they left me there for 2 months. And it was a bad part of town, and I didn't know what a bad part of town was. And until I got robbed by a guy I picked up hitchhiking in Inglewood, California, in my Porsche. That's how unaware I was. Seriously,
Wow.
I was just from the west end of Ottawa, sort of in the country, and then one day I'm in Los Angeles without my mom, and I got drafted underage into junior in my hometown. So I was still living at home until 18, and then boom, I'm in LA.
And so,
And
yeah, so take us to LA. So you said you lived at the airport for like, who's your?
at the Airport Park Hotel until I found a place to live. But if you know that movie that's on right now about Jerry Buss and the LA
Yep.
Kings, it's on Netflix. Okay, people talk to me. They say, "Did you see this film?" I said, "Yeah, I saw the film because that's the 5 years I was in Los Angeles. So our dressing room was attached to the LA Lakers dressing room."
Wow,
And we shared a shower for a short period of time. And you don't want to get caught in the shower with, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, all these guys. We were just sort of interrelated, and Jerry Buss owned both teams. So his daughters, like, he was a playboy,
Yeah.
so he had two daughters, and I was good friends with his younger daughter, and Jay Wells on the team.
Yeah.
His older daughter. So we were always up at Pickford Mansion, getting into trouble. What?
Wow. That's so. Did you, when you were with LA, did any of the veterans, did you have like a mentor? Did one of them take you under their wings, like Marcel or Gary or Simmer or Dave Taylor?
Dave Taylor was unbelievable with me. He tried to control that, like the impulse in me, right? Because I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, right? And my mom put me in meditation and not on medication. So I was really hard to control because they let me lose control. That was a positive thing in hockey.
Yeah, that's true.
And so
That's true. Yeah.
Dave Taylor helped me out, but a lot of times I was just scrapping my way, always scrapping my way and trying to do it my way. And when I look back, I really didn't utilize the experience in the room because I was just a sort of a bull in a china shop. And I put my head on my hands sometimes and wonder why I behaved that way. But I didn't know anything else.
Doug, these stories are just like who was Rogie was gone? Was Rogie gone?
Rogie was there for a short
Rogie was
time. He
there.
coached the team, and then he moved into general manager position. And then finally, after having 4 coaches in 5 years and having to testify in court, against Don Perry as a 19-year-old kid, and then he got fired, and they hired Pat Quinn. And for the first time in 5 years, somebody sat me down. Pat Quinn sat me down, like Pat Quinn could sit anybody down. And he said, "I just want to help you get whatever you want to get."
Wow. Isn't that nice, eh?
And I was like, I had never experienced anything like that before. And I said, "Pat, I've been here for 4 years. I'm dying. I asked to be traded 2 years ago. I went public in Toronto. I got raked through the coals in the media. I got to get out of here. It's killing me." And he said, "Okay." And then Scotty Bowman stepped in, the winningest coach of all time. He traded for me, and believe it or not, he picked me up at the airport. And on the way from the airport to the hotel, he told me, this was after 5 years in LA and dying. I was a healthy scratch. I wasn't even on the ice. He told me he'd been trying to trade for me for 4.5 years. And then he thought I could be one of the best centermen in the National Hockey League. And the next night, the first game with the Buffalo Sabres, I scored 13 seconds into my first game. And I was the star.
That's a great impression.
The next 5 games, my line got 27 points, and we were the number 1 line in the National Hockey League. Mike Foligno, Doug Smith, and Paul Sear. And I went from a healthy scratch, and this is what I talk about in my presentation. I was non-functional, but it wasn't physical, it was mental in LA. And when I got traded and Scotty gave me that belief again that I had when I was a child, it transferred like right away. There was no hesitation. Wow. I went out and scored. And we had this really great relationship until we had a falling out. And I've talked to Guy Lafleur. I talked to Larry Robinson. I've talked to Pete Mahovlich. He had this funny relationship, with his players. So we had a falling out, and then I ran into him again in Pittsburgh when I was with the Pittsburgh Penguins playing with Mario, and he became director of player operations, and he just put a line through my name, and I was like, okay, off to Europe.
Wow. Well, you did hear that about Scotty. Like, he was a little different. I mean, obviously he produced, but he had his own formula. So let me ask you a couple of questions. So you went from LA. So I got a couple of questions. So as you formed your NHL career, was there one player in the league who you would have considered your best friend, say, or one of your closest friends?
Yeah, for the time in LA, like it was so important that I had protection and help when I was in Los Angeles, and Larry Murphy was the guy.
Murphy, eh? Well, we all know Larry. You have so many connections in
We
Toronto. Larry Murphy, Pat Quinn, like they're both Toronto guys too, right? So this is great.
Yeah, no, Larry Murphy was always there. He was always supportive. He traveled light. You know what I mean? He was a great listener, and I needed a listener because I was always going a million miles an hour, right? And so, yeah, so that's my call,
He
right?
was a
From the heart. I didn't know you were going to ask that question, by the way,
and
so it's hard.
he was a stud in LA then at that time, was he not?
Well, he was a year older than
Yeah,
me, and he calmed things down. He was a very calm guy. Like made friends with everybody he played with. What a career he had. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Just so proud of
So
him.
how about on the other end now? Did you have a rival who you just hated to play against because he just punished you or just stuck you or just oh
Somebody might remember the name Kenny Linsman. Yeah, because I played with Buffalo. He played for Boston. So Kenny and I, there's many pictures with my stick like 2 inches from his face or his stick 2 inches from my
well the
face.
rat, right? The rat, yeah, the rat.
Yeah, you knew had to know how to sword fight if you were going to play against
So
Kenny.
was that before he went to Philly or after?
No, I was at Buffalo, so I was with
No,
Los Angeles for five.
Kenny. Was that
Oh, that was that would have been well. I played against him in Philly
yeah, so it
too,
would have
so
been before, right?
it didn't
He went to
matter. Yeah, it
Boston
was
and
that
then to Philly.
that
Yeah.
was that was the decade I was there, right? Like right with him, and I learned to skate like his brother Johnny. Johnny didn't get the accolades that Kenny did, but I played with Johnny in junior, and he was the fastest skater in junior, and I had a wide choppy stride. And I used to watch him do the race in Ottawa, where there used to be this race to win Brute shaving
Yeah.
cream, and I mirrored him. I learned how to skate like him, and then I within 18 months I had learned how to skate like John Linsman, and so I tell kids today anybody can do it. You just got to be able to focus on something that you want to achieve and watch it over and over and over and over, and that'll translate from the brain right into the body.
Wow, this is amazing what you're sharing. Like I said, I know you got just golden stories, so this is good. Is there somebody that you sort of really remember, maybe a mentor or a coach or even a fellow player that really stuck to you with some good advice? Like I guess a tip to how to get better in life and in hockey from a coach, maybe.
It'd be Pat Quinn because when I got traded to Vancouver from the Edmonton Oilers, by the way, I'll talk about that if you want
Yeah.
later. Pat Quinn traded for me again and got me back. So there you go.
Wow. So let's go.
There you go.
So you went from LA to Buffalo.
Yeah,
Edmonton,
and then 3 years in Buffalo,
Vancouver.
and then I went from Buffalo to Edmonton when Gretzky went from Edmonton to LA. It was within a month. So I started that season. You can look in the stats. I started that season with Curry and Simpson, Wayne's line. I scored the first goal of the season. We beat the New York Islanders 5-2, and I was on the front page of the Edmonton. It was like I was reborn. And then it was like, okay, well, you haven't scored like 50 points in the first 25 games.
Wow.
Because those boots, I mean, I played against them. And not only that, when you move into a dressing room where you've played 40 games against guys in many playoff series, it's hard to get along.
Yeah.
And I came in as a lone guy going in, like just out of nowhere. Here comes Doug Smith to play center.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so on LA, who was the best player on your team that in your mind?
Well, Marcel.
Marcel. Okay, so
Marcel, and the reason he was the best player is because he could stick handle but skate straight up the ice, and if you got in his way, he would break something on your body. He was like a fast moving tank. Right, like super powerful legs and really like you couldn't lift his stick if you were behind him and he didn't know you were there and you tried to lift his stick.
Really, eh?
No, he's just like rock solid, right?
He might be the most underrated NHL star of all time. Like really?
He was so talented. People don't understand that. I was with him for 5 years. He did not leverage the talent around him.
No. No.
He didn't know how to do that. He grew up in a small town. He was a superstar from the time of like 7 years old or 8 years old, just like Mario,
Like
right?
Mario.
Okay, so he didn't need to leverage talent around him. It didn't make any difference to him. It's just give me the puck, go here, and it's like,
Okay,
how do you do
let's
it?
move on to Buffalo. The best player that you played with on Buffalo.
Gilbert Perreault. I assisted on his 500th goal. Dave Anderchuk and I were carrying him around the rink. I have a beautiful picture, high resolution. It's absolutely gorgeous. So he used to pick me up at my house and drive me to the rink after Scotty Bowman told me he loved me on the way from the airport. I used to get picked up by Gilbert Perreault every day in his old rickety Jeep. He's got one of these Wagoneer Jeeps that he used to drive. It was like 15 years old.
He just oozed class. Like, I don't know who he is. Like, he just oozed, like Gilbo, but just class.
It was magical. To see the guy move, he the way he stick handled was the way he operated in life.
Okay, Edmonton, obviously, right? Wayne, I guess, right? Wayne.
Well, I didn't play with Wayne. I played over 65 games against Wayne.
So who was the best player on the team when you were there? Mark?
Well, asking who is the best player on a team is a really tough question. Mark was hurt at the time, so I wouldn't say at that time Mark was the best player at the time. I would say Yari was holding up everything. Okay. I mean, he was managing as a leader then, because when Gretzky went to LA, people don't know this. Glenn Sather went to Europe. John Muckler became the coach of the team. I never saw Glenn Sather till Christmas time.
Okay.
Everybody just abandoned the team. It was like, okay, we're going to take this year off.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I arrived there and everybody's like, well, Messier wasn't playing because his ankle was hurt, and Muckler was coaching. He had never coached before, and he really was. I mean, John was a great assistant coach in my opinion, but a better assistant coach than head coach. Not a bad head coach, but I thought as an assistant coach, he was amazing.
So when you went to Edmonton, what year was that again?
That would have been 1988.
So all the hoopla it's all gone now. Were they still? I can't recall now. Were they still winning cups?
No, I got so I asked to be traded at Christmas time when Glenn Sather got back from Europe because I was very unhappy. Yeah. So that's when I went to Vancouver.
Okay.
So I got traded to Vancouver, and then that season ended, and then the next season they won the Stanley Cup.
Oh, okay. I knew it was around that.
I just think, you roll the dice with this stuff, right? So I'm in Vancouver with Pat Quinn, right? And they draft Trevor Linden, played with Trevor that whole year, 27 years old, 28 years old. Pat came to me. We weren't going to make the playoffs. He came to me. He said, look, I got a call from Pittsburgh. You can hang around here and just, work with the young guys, or Mario has asked for you to come to Pittsburgh and play with him. And I was like, can you say that? Say that one more time, please, Pat.
Mario.
Just because I was like, he says, well, go away, think about it. I don't know if you know what you want to do. So my wife and I went up to the mountains, up to Whistler for 2 days to talk about it. We already had the conversation before we left, but it was time to go to Pittsburgh, right? Because the opportunity to play with Mario, and he wanted me there, and like it was amazing. So I arrived in Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden I'm like facing off, and there's Mario on my right side, because he was coming back off his back injury, right? And he was slowly moving back into center. So I'm facing off against Kirk Muller with Mario Lemieux on my right side. Well, all of a sudden.
Kevin Stevens was there too, right? Was Kevin there?
No, I never played with Kevin. I wish I would have played with Kevin. Holy cow, I hated playing against that guy. He was dangerous.
Was he gone? He was gone by then? Because he had that injury. He had his injury, right?
Then it came after.
Oh, he came after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they won a cup the year after. Scotty Bowman got hired.
And how about
I missed it by a year. I mean, there's so many guys that missed it by 5 minutes, right? I missed it by a year on many times.
So Yager wasn't there either.
No. Oh, wow. That was on my bucket list to be able to be out on the ice with him. We ended up sending I've done some work after hockey with Mario and with Sydney and with the guys in Pittsburgh, right? Like people like cancer issues, from Ottawa, a field trip to Pittsburgh to meet all the guys. Wow. And it's really worked. We've had like remissions and stuff. It's absolutely bizarre.
So who was the star in Vancouver? Is Linden? Was that your star, or he was still a kid?
Yeah, Trevor Linden was there, and they were bringing in the Russians. So
Okay.
Krutov, Larionov was there. I played with Larionov on the power play in Vancouver, and Krutov. I would have played on the power play with Krutov, but he couldn't keep him out of McDonald's. He came over from, and he got addicted to fast food, and it was like
Killed him.
It was unbelievable. It may have killed him in the long run. I don't know what happened to him, but he just got so big.
So I just want to recap, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about what's going on today with your career. I mean, we could talk all day.
Oh, sure.
All day about
sure.
the NHL. And just to let you know, there's lots of people commenting on our Facebook page. So
yeah. And I'd like to share more of these stories with you. Like we'll get really granular with it. It'll happen.
Before we take a break, I just want to recap. So in LA, it was Marcel Dion. In Buffalo, it was Jobo Perreault. In Edmonton, it was Jari Kurri. In Vancouver, it was Linden. In Pittsburgh, it was Mario. And not only that, but
never looked at it that way.
Lafleur was on the ice still. Gretzky.
Oh yeah. And Guy became a Guy. I'll tell you a story about Guy Lafleur, Doug Smith, and Larry Robinson.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. You're watching Press Box. We're here with Doug Smith, the number 2 draft pick of the 1981 draft. This is super exciting. Keep on commenting, people. We love it. We'll be right back.
Are you currently on ODSP? If you're interested in social media marketing, TV production, podcasting, or getting off assistance, please contact Jay Stoyan at 647-339-6847 or Jay at thedisabilitychannel.ca. The Disability Channel, showcasing abilities.
Welcome back to the show. This is super exciting. On our show today, we have from the 1981 NHL draft, we have Doug Smith telling us all about his wonderful career. Lots of great stories. He's going to tell us one about Guy Lafleur, but also we're going to talk later about Doug Smith performance. They're wonderful things he's doing for the community and his fellow athletes. So, Doug, I'll hand it off to you. Tell us that that Guy Lafleur.
Guy Lafleur and Larry Robinson became good friends one day when we were driving in a limousine in Toronto on the 401 to Wayne Gretzky's tennis tournament. And our limo driver fell asleep and hit the median, and the limo spun around, and it was big. Nobody got hurt, but ever since it happened, like we were close, and every time I saw Guy, until he passed away, I'd always go up to him because there was always a line in front of him, right? I'd say to Guy, I'd give him a hug, and I'd say, "It's great to be alive, huh?"
Wow.
And Guy would look at me, always well dressed, his hair's perfect. He would look at me every time. This happened 4 or 5 times. He'd say, "It's good to be Guy."
Wow, that is.
I'm saying it's good to be alive, and Guy Lafleur is looking at me and going, "It's good to be Guy."
So back then you played, like, let's say the 81, because Gretzky I think he was 70, came to the NHL 79. So you guys are like the same age, and Guy Lafleur smoking cigarettes on the bench.
Yeah. No, I was, I came into the league at a time where they were looking for solutions to advance the league. I mean, you lower the age to change the culture, but the culture hadn't changed, and I arrived. And so I got damaged emotionally in Los Angeles. I was lucky to survive physically. So I survived physically. I'm happy to be here. And now I go back and help others, both in the armed forces, because the hockey story works there. And in hockey, guys like Tony McKegney, have become very close. Even though we didn't play together, he came to Buffalo shortly after I left. But we've become very close friends, and the whole black conversation is important.
So let's talk about this now, Doug. It's very important now. We'll just sort of change the subject a little bit. So let's talk about leading into your injury, how that happened a little bit. I mean, you don't have to go into detail, obviously, but let's talk about that, because I'm sure a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't remember or know, or would like to know. And then we can talk about how you turned your negative into a positive, right? Your accident. So tell our viewers about that day or that incident or that time.
So the impact force of going into the boards at 22 miles an hour is the same as accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 1/3 of a second, which would hurt you.
Yep.
It would hurt your organs. So I went head first, full speed. I'm going to be presenting that video. It's the only video in the world I know of where a professional hockey player ends his career going into the end boards, breaking his neck. So I'm going to be revealing that, shortly. Yeah. So, and then life started over when I hit the boards and shattered my spine and,
And
shattered it
what year was that now?
in 1992,
1990.
February 7th.
Okay.
Yeah. When I shattered my spine, I was lying on the ice and I knew I'd broken my back. Um, and, and it wasn't all the goals and all the accolades that I thought of when I was in that position. It was all the times I didn't show up for other people. That's what I saw
Wow.
more clearly than anything.
Wow.
Well, and then what was I going to do? Right. And I made a commitment that I was going to do better than I had already done. So I was going to do better than playing with Mario Lemieux. I was going to do better than playing against Wayne Gretzky. I was going to do better than scoring in the Miracle on Manchester, in Los
That's a
Angeles.
warrior attitude, Doug. That's a warrior attitude. That's a hockey attitude. It's like, I'll meet the challenge. So you got that in your blood. So congratulations. That's amazing.
Well, you know what? I can't say it's easy all the time, but, get into the right rhythms.
Yep. No, this is great. So, okay. So continue. Yep.
So where were
we? We were just saying, so you into the board, 22 miles an hour.
Yeah. So I shattered my spine. I had 3 surgeries. In the 3rd surgery, I woke up in ICU, a quadriplegic. My wife had just had our 2nd child 1 week before.
Explain to our viewers quadriplegic. So
I lost everything: arms, legs, bladder, bowels. Like, I wasn't on a respirator. Okay. But other than being on a respirator, I didn't have anything.
Wow.
So everything. Wow, it's hard to go back there. Everything that I knew to be real was taken away from me.
Wow. Okay, so
which was my physical capability, because I could always dominate physically. It didn't matter what it was.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing. So, okay, so let's move it forward, because I don't want to spend too much time, because that must have been a hard time in your life. So
I'll come back on and I'll tell how I'll explain exactly how I did it, because there's a lot of people listening right now that have people in their family that could use this,
100%.
because it's not about the physical trauma, right? It's about how we work the mind, and that'll relate to the physical. So it's easier than people think, and we'll tell them about it next time.
Okay. So let's move forward now. Talk about how you now have created Doug Smith Performance and some of the benefits and some of the great stuff you do for, your fellow athletes or veterans or just people in the community. Tell us about the performance platform now.
Well, after having failures and successes, around many things, as we do, I decided to sit down and write a book in 2008. And then after I finished writing the book, the scientific community came to me and said, everything you're saying lines up with the scientific research. So I sat down to write another book. That was quite a painful time for a guy with ADHD, right?
Sure.
And so I finished 2 books, and the second book became like this huge hit, an unbelievable hit. It's called The Trauma Code. And it's all about unlocking your performance and about how everybody suffers from trauma. I'm able to prove this to people now unequivocally, like that everybody suffers from it. And if you believe that you don't, then you're just unaware.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Like, tell us the talking points that you could sort of build on if people are interested. So, like,
there's only 4 types of trauma we suffer from, and out of those 4, there's only one we can't see, and that's the only one that we need to care about, which is cumulative emotional trauma, because our brain is coded. It gets coded. Look at this hockey player that somebody made me. The brain gets. These are psychiatry books. The brain gets coded first. Then there's a hesitation, there's a gap, and then consciousness occurs. So you can't prevent becoming what you're around. So where you put yourself, who you put yourself with, what you put yourself around, you will become like it. It's not your choice.
Wow.
Let's just put it that way.
And you've lived it, so you've lived it.
My story just synchronizes in, and I become a practitioner in several modalities as well. So we'll talk about that in the next time.
Wow. So if somebody is so give me an example, like if someone's watching or listening to us right now and they may be a hockey player, they may not, but they're sort of going through struggles in their life. How could you help them? How could you advise? What would you say to them?
Thanks a lot, Jay. Pick up Your Inner Physician in You by John Upledger. It will teach you that the central nervous system beats at 11 beats a minute, and it feeds the heart rate and breathing. We don't learn about what the central nervous system does for us. So if you pick up Your Inner Physician in You by Dr. John Upledger. He founded the Brain and Spinal Cord Dysfunction Center in Palm Gardens, Florida. He's passed away just a couple of years ago. But his work, once you read this book, it will change the whole way you think about it. And then you'll have to make a choice. And I love putting people in a position where they have to make a choice. Like, we have to do something.
Yep. No, this is wow. This is such important information. So if people want to find out more information, I want to come back and talk to you about the connection you have with your hat that you're wearing. So, but before we do that, if people are, like I said, are struggling or just want to find out more information, Doug, I know you're in the Ottawa area, but this is right across Canada and the world. Where could they go? Where your website? What could you give it out?
DougSmithPerformance.com. And if they want to download a meditation all my work is being transferred into meditations right now. All you do is go to my website, DougSmithPerformance.com / what you want, relax.
And we're going to put it on our website too.
/ relax. Yeah. And what you'll find is a free download there. And I challenge you to stay awake. Just follow the suggestions and then try to stay awake at bedtime.
This is great. So let's take another quick break. I want to come back. I want to talk about your connection with you in Ottawa and the Senators, your hat, and whatever else we're going to talk about. So stay tuned. You're watching Press Box. We have on the show today former NHLer Doug Smith, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. On the show today, we are having Doug Smith, former number 2 pick in the 1981 draft. He's telling us all about his illustrious career, the players he's played with, like the greats, oh my goodness, and then, of course, his injury and how he's turned that into a positive, helping other people. So, Doug, let's talk about today. I know you're big, heavy, you're a big supporter in Ottawa. Tell us about your connection to the Senators and how people could also get involved in helping other athletes.
Yeah, well, I'm involved with the Ottawa Senators alumni. So the guys that retire and stay locally, or if you played hockey outside of Ottawa and you come to Ottawa, if you played in the NHL, you can join the Ottawa Senators alumni.
Oh, that's great.
And we've raised over $26 million or something since I've been with the organization since the beginning. And now Michael Andlauer is in. He's brought Cyril Leader back, and I've known Cyril forever, and I know Jeff York, because you'll find many pictures of me with Jeff because we grew up playing hockey together. He's one of the reasons I made it to the NHL.
That's great. Let's hope Daniel's involved, hopefully, because he's such a great player, like such a spokesman.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely be involved. I believe they're just trying to figure out how and why and what Daniel wants to do, right? What makes him happy.
Well, you guys got some like great. Chris Neal, I remember, was a great player for Ottawa, and like Daniel.
Yeah. We had a meeting. We had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago with the alumni, and Michael Andlauer came, and the new management team came. So I sat with Chris, and Chris Phillips was there. Like, these guys are so enthusiastic about the Ottawa community. So everything's going to change. It's almost a different feeling, the cultural change that's occurring there right now. So it's wonderful.
What's going on with the rink? Because I remember they were talking about a new rink in Canada, and then they're not, and this. I haven't heard anything, I guess, for the last couple of years. Is there any new updates regarding that, or?
That's a question for the mayor.
For the mayor, eh? There you go.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So before I let you go, one last question, hockey question, right? I want to know, in your eyes, who was the toughest on the ice when you played?
Clark Gillies.
Clark Gillies?
Yeah, nobody would fight him. It didn't matter who it was. Nobody would fight him
Arguably,
because he hurt so many guys early in his career. Like he hurt him bad.
well, I remember his rookie season. They said he beat the heck out of Dave Schultz right at the Flyer bench. And it was
Yeah, no, he'd ragdoll anybody. And I played with him. He was on my line
was he
for a while.
You think
Yeah,
he was like one of the like
I've never seen anything like it. He made so much room out there because everybody respected him. He wasn't mean, nasty. He just would like when he was on the ice. People would not do things that they would do if he wasn't on the ice. If you know what I
did he
mean.
cross over with Probert or not really?
I don't know. I
Maybe
don't know. I don't know.
Maybe too old by then a little bit.
Boy, if we could find that fight, that'd be
Or
a good one.
Semenko, like remember Semenko was a pretty.
Well, he's the only guy, Dave, and I love Dave. He's amazing, and rest in peace. But I've seen that guy. He was so strong. He I saw him once. There's two guys arguing, and there's two guys in between, and he reached over the pile, hit somebody on the top of the head with his glove, knocked him right out.
Wow. See, we could go on and on and on and on about football, hockey fights and this and that. This is so great. So again, I really appreciate taking the time today, Doug, for being on the show. We're gonna have you back. We're gonna might do a chronicle, like a hockey chronicle, where we would just do a series and you would just tell us all these stories. Because I know people die for these backroom stories. Like
I'd love to bring my friends on too. There's a lot of I'd love to introduce you to the people who are supporting me because it's not about me. It's about the people who support me, and it's about the people who support you. So I'd love to introduce you to some of them, Jay. Like this is really good what you're doing. You're doing awesome.
Well, we will. We're all about sports, helping veterans, helping people. I want to thank Stefan for introducing me. I want to thank Fabian and the Veterans for Healing. Like, we're building a great team together, Doug. All of us, we're all doing the right thing, trying to do positive things for people and have fun at the same time, right? Have fun at the same time. You got to have fun. So, again, I really appreciate for coming on. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and wrap the show with some TDC updates. So I really want to thank you for tuning in. And we will be posting this link and sharing your stories all the time, Doug. Thank you so much.
All about inclusion and really giving everyone a fair say.
Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy.
I am Zach Damon.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am excited. What is up?
We have a great show today.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities.
Get ready to be inspired, everyone.
We have people watching from all over the world, but also all over Ontario.
We also take a concerted attention in the veterans community.
In moments of stress and trauma, we can get a hold of ourselves.
To help make a difference for people with disabilities, to show people how to love themselves or their disability.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me, giving this platform for myself and other people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this episode of the Disability Channel Detroit. Please tune in next time.
Welcome back to the show. What a show it was. Wow, we had on the show today. We had 1981 number 2 draft pick from the NHL, Doug Smith, told us all about his wonderful career, unfortunately about his accident and how he overcome it, and now he's helping people through Doug Smith Performance. Before I let you on to go, I just want to say I'm wearing the Miami Dolphins shirt because I haven't worn it for about 25 years, and I'm a Dan Marino fan. Right now, it looks like Miami could be number 1 in the league. Pretty close. Philly lost, San Fran lost. Talking about Toronto, we have the Leafs and Chicago Blackhawks. The sensation, Connor Bedard against Austin Matthews. Exciting times, Major League Baseball. Hey, remember, we have our employment program, next cohort, free for veterans, starting on October 24th. If you want to enroll, we will love it. Just email me at j@thedisabilitychannel.ca, or you can give us a call. 647-339-6847. Watch for some updates regarding the Invictus games, our Veterans Television show, our Sirius XM radio show, and our employment program. Again, you're watching Press Box. If you want to be a guest, let us know. We'll see you next time on Disability.